Welcome to the Sirens of the Mother podcast, a place where we wax lyrical about all things mother, from the divine to the downright dirty. And it's my pleasure to have you here as we cut through the noise and distortions of our current narratives. So welcome to another episode of Sirens of the Mother. And I am eternally grateful that I have my guest today, which is Sarah Poet. And hi. I am so excited to have Sarah because she came into my life or into my consciousness and field around the time when I didn't quite have any language of what the mother was trying to say to me, didn't quite understand. And then little segue through Mary going on Sarah's podcast, I was like, oh my God, they're speaking my language. These are my women. And so Sarah is a truth seeker. She is a thought leader and a medicine woman for our modern time. She carries a deep wisdom around the masculine and feminine dynamics. And she has a beautiful TED talk around that. If you all want to check that out, it's on our website. And Sarah's podcast actually is called Sacred Remembering. And I really want to kick off there because we are in this deep, sacred remembering of who we are as human beings, but particularly women and the technology we hold in our bodies, which is so needed at this time. And I kind of just want to kick off around why you kind of came to the conclusion of calling your podcast that and your community that as well, because it is poignant, but I really want to hear that from your kind of perspective.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me and also sharing the story of how the conversation with Mary on the Sacred Remembering podcast was an activation for you because, you know, you're starting this podcast right now. I am so honored to be among your first guests. I mean, you have no idea. It's just so important what you're doing. And you know that like you have to do this right now because it's what you're called to do. And like when we get that call, we don't know how it's going to land. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know who's going to hear it or what the impacts and ripples are going to be. And so it actually just like brings tears to my eyes when I hear you share that because I'm like, yes, like it, you know, that ripple, that activation made it. It went out into that field and made contact. So that's so beautiful. And to answer your question, everything I've done really as far like the big moves, like leaving a career in education and school leadership and going on to this path and calling my business Embodied Breath and then calling the podcast Sacred Remembering, like all of those things were directions. It was like directions that I followed, not from me or like from my head. It wasn't like a decision, but we're doing what our souls tell us to do. And so Sacred Remembering is really, the tagline has always been women waking up to the full truth of who we are. And that never stops. So in the beginning of this work, like in 2017, 2018, I was really helping women to stand in their truth and find their voice. And that's what I was doing. Right. And then the podcast really featured women who went on this journey of like stepping into their truth and, writing the book or starting the business or something like that. And then over the years, it's really become about, this path of what does the feminine and masculine reunification actually look like not just the pretty pictures, but, not just the light teachings, but what is this gritty ass journey of truly reclaiming the feminine sovereignty, in this unified creation? Like, what does that actually look like? So, I mean, in 5 years of this podcast, you can totally hear my own evolution, which is still an unfolding path as I remembered more, And again, want to be really clear, still remembering. I'm still very much a student of the unfolding.
Yeah, I really want to say about the podcast because I tune into your podcast now because of what happened, because I really get activated from it. And so on Spotify, you can recommend podcasts. And so yours is one. So you can recommend two. So yours is one of them. Just want you to know that. And I want to say to people that are listening to my podcast, please check out Sarah's podcast because she started doing actual activations at the end. And if this is kind of new to you, it will do something to your body in that it will help you to open and receive the frequency of the Sophia and the Mother and all the kind of new ways that we're bringing forward. Because we spoke about that we've had to jump to the front of the queue. I'll speak for myself.
I love
And
that
this
saying. I
is
love
an
that image.
unfolding, as
Yeah.
Sarah said, that it's a constant like remembering of and a bringing in of the ways of, I call it the mother, you call it Sophia now. Yeah,
Yeah, I say lots of different words.
yeah,
Like I might say Great Mother, Cosmic Mother, Sophia.
yeah.
Yes,
It's all the thing, but the thing that is coming in now, because we are birthing this as we go, and we don't exactly know where
right.
it is that we're going or how this information is coming through. But one thing we are clear on is that our bodies are the vessels that are doing this.
Yes, for
You
sure.
know, so, and we're listening to the directives of the mother and of the soul. And so, if anyone's listening to this and they're feeling like this call or this pull forward, that the old ways are kind of done, because for me, and I know for Sarah, I am just, if I am on the surface now and listening to all this stuff, it's like I instantly get a headache and it's like my head is like in a vice. I just can't do it anymore. My body instantly just says, no, this is not the depth or the level that we need now. No more like skipping around, drinking cacao and doing things. It's like we need to go to a different depth to bring the information through.
Yeah, and no more getting scared and freaked out at the shit that actually doesn't matter. Like, I think it's
Mhm.
both and, stop distracting yourself. Stop
Yeah.
like worrying about what is actually like going on in the 3D because we're literally creating a new earth right now. And the
Mhm.
feminine resurrection has so much to do with that. I mean, so if women would stop worrying about what politician, might make some decision that takes away some kind of right, it's probably not going to happen, but don't give your energy there.
Yeah.
Like give your energy to the truth of who you are and to this divine resurrection, this siren of the mother, this call of Sophia. It is happening in all of us. And you and I have both said this in different ways that her call right now is serious.
Mhm.
She's like, okay, I'm here. Like, are you all here? I'm here. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
waiting on us. It's not
She's
like,
waiting.
yeah,
It's
she
not
doesn't
even
need
a
us
thing.
to
It's
fight.
like
Yeah.
now, children, get in line. Mother is here. There is no
Yeah.
more messing up with. She's given license for us to like dip in, dip out, do our thing, try
Right.
bits over here, over there. Not do anything, do something. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is the time we are getting in line. This is serious now. We are at the crossroad, and we need the sirens. We need the vessels of woman to switch on. And like you said, our energy is being siphoned and like co-opted and taken in so many different directions, and it's just time for that to like be pulled back into a line. And I know you speak a lot around the feminine resources and that like thing of like seeing where our resources as self has been taken. And I wonder if you can say a bit more about you know that the resources bit.
Yeah, thank you. I want to just share a little story. And so, first of all, for listeners, if you haven't listened to my podcast or don't know me, I share a lot in story. It's like part of my human design. My gene keys is like tell the stories, but tell the good parts, Sarah. Don't just tell like the painful parts, but tell like why are you telling the story. So I often will share a personal story to exemplify like a planetary shift that's happening, those kinds of things. Um, so to answer your question about resources, I want to talk about how I got there because I think it'll be
Yes.
relevant for a
Yeah.
lot of listeners.
Yeah.
So, so when I stepped onto this path, I knew that it was about feminine and masculine. Like that's what called my soul. And my introduction to that, my remembrance of that actually happened through Jungian analysts. So like Marion Woodman, these classic archetypal, like the psychology of masculine feminine. So I dove very deeply into that. And this was before the internet blew up with feminine masculine polarity and this and that, and, all of the false representations. We're all trying our best, but there's a lot of confusion, right? And I was in that. Like, it was like, we're all seeking the truth. So I stepped onto this path, and all I knew was like, okay, I want to just heal feminine and masculine and like help with this and work with this every day of my life. And I don't know what that looks like, right? So I walked this spiritual path of the reconciliation of the feminine and masculine. I say on three levels, like within, relationally, and with the Godhead. So, all of creation is comprised of feminine and masculine energetics, and these have been very like they've been tampered with, they've been skewed from like our interpretations of gender through misogyny and all of that to like we're told that God is male. I mean, there's just so much confusion around gender, around feminine and masculine, and the true expressions of these things, which we see come through in organic creation. Like organic creation holds the template of what true feminine and true masculine are, and what Holy Father is, what Holy Mother is, etc. So that was my path of remembrance. And early on that path, I was like, I'm going to find my divine union partner. That's what I'm here for, right? Like I thought it was all about that. I thought that that's how we found God. I thought that that's like, that's the template that saves the world. I don't disagree that that probably is
Mhm.
part of the truth. But I projected that into my story. Like, I got to find this. I got to, I got to do this thing. Um, and really what was happening was I was still holding templates in my aura, in my energy body, which I didn't learn about until later, that were like false magnetics. They were attracting the wrong thing. Or yeah, that's a whole other story. But I was attracting men that maybe they were soulmates, or they were like a brother on the soul path. Like we came to remind one another of things and wake each other up, but it wasn't this like blissful, soulful, divine union that everybody kind of projects out there as like what you want to find, right? And what I kept experiencing was that like these men, and many of them, and I'm not talking like there were many men, I'm talking there were like a handful, right? Like five or fewer, where they had these Christed hearts. They were like beautiful, but they were takers when,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it was more siphoning to my feminine. So instead of making my life easier, or, like building something with my child and I, it was like they came into my house, they received from the mother, they had something they wanted to get, right? But there wasn't like a deep reverence and an honoring such that they stayed, that they made sure I was safe, that they, right? So that's, we all have responsibility in that, actually, because like I said, like I was still holding some of these templates that like we might call lunar, or we might just call like we have inversions in our feminine energy fields from this lifetime, like abuses, sexual abuses, anytime our energy was um, taken without our consent, those imprints stay in our energy field, and we're carrying those from lifetimes past,
Mhm.
like the soul history. So I had to remember like more and more and more, because it was like, well, why the fuck do they want the mother, but they don't honor the mother? Like, why am I depleting when I should be regenerating? Right. So that led me to stop this like false quest for external union and really focus on the feminine and resourcefulness and rebuilding and regenerating the feminine resourcefulness. And it led me to just kind of naturally coming up with these 8 feminine resources, because it was like, oh, okay, this person asked for that, but he didn't know how to fully value that. That's a resource, right? So our resources aren't defined by what a man values, or what this culture values, or society values, or what we can get paid for, but our true value is innate. Like it is this innate resourcefulness of the Sophia, of the mother, of the feminine, that is in us. And I enjoy living into that remembrance and that value. And it's like, you know doesn't matter if anyone else really fully gets it. Like it's up to me and my sovereignty to really know my resourcefulness and value it myself and honor it myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's an intro. It's a long intro, but
It's long, but it's a good intro, because I think what you're saying, which is really key for me, is that it's about us.
yeah,
It's not about an outside validation. These resources are innate,
right.
inbuilt, already there. And once we as women learn to kind of tend to those and cultivate those, and build those in our own being, we are full, we are nourished, and we are able to then get nourishment from the outside world that matches that.
Right,
And
right.
for me, it's like receiving the milk and honey of the mother. That's how it feels to me. That it's like this never-ending source tapped in thing that you can. And for me, it's not just women that really need to understand that.
Right.
There is this thing about men understanding what the resource of the mother is, because ultimately they are seeking the mother too.
That's what's happening. Yeah, that's what's happening.
They're really seeking the mother in, I'll save that for another podcast actually, but there is this thing that kind of got shown to me yesterday actually about when we cut men off really young from their physical mothers, when they can't get affection because they get to a certain age in puberty, and it's not like with women, it's almost like they have to grow up faster away from the emotional realm. It cuts them off prematurely, so prematurely that it's like they're starving, and so they take from the feminine. And so yeah, but that's for another podcast. But it's really, for me, the responsibility for women to really understand what and value what those inner resources are. Yeah, and if you want to find out more about that, then seek Sarah out.
Yeah. The things I never get tired of talking about, right? Yeah, just to your point there about like the boys and the mother, and the men and the mother, like we've all been systematically separated from the mother. And recently I've been intuiting more about the magnetics and the electrics. So
Mm-hmm.
simply said, the magnetics could be the feminine aspects of creation, and the electrics the masculine aspects of creation. And I think there are so many ways that there have been other forces at play on this planet, like controller
Mm-hmm.
forces and negative forces that have not wanted these two to come back together. And the whole game that they were playing was actually like electrical warfare, like separating the electrics from the magnetics. So we weren't cultivating the proper magnetics in our feminine systems, primarily because we were afraid. That is a big fear imprint. And then the men were actually cut off from the proper electrics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using woman and man, but it's also like these frequencies were tampered with at the earth level. So these two forces that just long to be together and make creation, there were these like electrical tamperings that really that were, I would say, responsible for most of the separation that we experienced. And yeah, so coming back into my remembrance of the mother and of Sophia was, was another like deep leg of the journey kind of after that union projection. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to talk about this false projection of like the father as provider, right? So
Yeah,
that was kind of like,
let's do that.
let's do that. Yeah,
Because actually, as you were speaking, I was feeling like this new impulse of their father from Earth that wants to come through. So which is the real energetic.
yeah.
So let's talk about the false energetics first, and then
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know where I was going, but this false provider thing it was such an awakening for me,
mm-hmm.
because and I went back to journals from like 2019, 2020, and I was like looking for the answer of provision, of like having resourcefulness through the masculine energetic, right? So and gosh, like the path was so hard, but everything that happened was to prepare me for this, right? To prepare me for this long remembrance. But like my father was very provisional, but he was also abusive,
Mm-hmm.
and like he was very much hurt as a child, and so we carried some of that through the lineage. And um, I had to spend a lot of like time clearing that in the last few years. But I bring him up because like he had money,
Mm-hmm.
and to get access to that money, which is a resource, an external resource, right? Not one of the 8 internal feminine resources, but an external resource that we need to survive in the world. Well, okay, so I wanted to say 10 things at once here because I love this topic so much. So I had to keep certain things quiet in order to have access to that money. I had to deny myself. You know, really some dark things happened, right? That I had to continue to deny in order to be safe. And that was a part of the programming that I was given. Like, at points in my journey, I didn't even think I would stay alive if I tried to break away from my father, right? It was so dark and so deep. So my relationship with money has always been interesting, because of those early imprints and impressions, right? So I thought that that meant having to heal and correct my relationship with the masculine to be in right relationship with provision. And this is so deeply ingrained in like all of us as women. And I'm talking like if you look onto the internet right now and you ask anybody, or you look at anybody talking about what is the masculine, what
Mm-hmm.
is the masculine energetic, they're going to tell you it's provision and protection,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's what the masculine is supposed to be, provision and protection. So I think we have a lot of women who are mind controlled in this matrix reality to say, I have to look at masculine for provision.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to behave in certain ways, be feminine in certain ways, not be too much in other ways, right? We contort our feminine, which is to contort our magnetics, which is to contort our creational power, right? So I was like seeking provision through this healed relationship with all aspects of the masculine. It was just like, where is the answer? How can I possibly find it, right? And like, am I there yet? Am I a good girl enough yet? Am I worthy of this masculine provision yet? Am I right? And so then it was like, hello, Sarah, I'm the great mother. And what do you think provision is? Like the womb provides, the mother provides. And that was my like reintroduction to the mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through like, oh, well, what is, this cosmic magic of the mother? What is the creational power of my womb? I actually started to kind of intuitively get lit up and ask questions about like immaculate conception.
Oh,
Um, because it was like the womb has her own magic.
mm-hmm.
And, I don't know what's going on with like the masculine and these false overlays, but like the womb is the original provider. So I don't want to like knock men or masculine. Like the masculine provides what it provides. And it's beautiful. Like the masculine provides the seed. If it provides a seed, that seed goes into the womb and a creation is made. But then biologically the child is born. What does the mother do? The mother offers her body,
Mm-hmm.
not only to grow the child, but to feed the child. Like the mother provides. The mother provides.
Mm. I'm just really soaking that in because as you were saying that, I can still feel an edge in me around masculine provider. And then because I've never classed my womb as provider. However, I class my womb as creator, but the word provider attached to the womb is like it's just activated a whole like different understanding of when I say the mother's milk and honey, it's like, oh my God, it's actually
Yes.
coming from the mother, but also the innate seed of the mother in me.
Yes.
And that was the miss because I'm still been looking outside as provider, even though it's attached to mother, not masculine. And it's just like, oh my God, this is a whole different activation going on in my body right now.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
me
around
too.
the
Like, yeah. And I just want to say to to us, to everyone listening, like these things take a long time to like remember and activate, or
yeah.
maybe not, but it's been like years of cultivation and I'm very much still in
Mhm.
it, and she is getting more serious with me being like, no, really, it's time. Like sit
Yeah.
down, get the codes, speak the codes, live the codes, and share. Like to your point, like it is time for this, but it's been like a slow remembrance for me, and maybe also like me doubting my own power,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like I'm remembering these really amazing things, but I'm still kind of like, oh, woe is me because that was so hard.
Yeah. I think this is the crossover for me because, like I said last week, it was like, girl, you got shit to do. Start
Yes.
that focus
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
there's this thing of, okay, because I've been like that I know so much, but then it takes me a while to fully embrace and embody because I've still got this thing of going, but it's so hard.
That yes, I
Like,
know.
do you know what I've done already? And kind of thing. It's like, and it's like, girl,
Yes.
you are the grit. Get with it. You are the grit that makes the pearl. You are the grit that makes the pearl. It is, you've had a gritty life for a reason, just own it. Own it.
Yes.
You didn't come here for the
Yes.
soft touch. You came here to actually agitate the shit out of
Mm,
yourself, out of life,
mm,
out of everything to form this beautiful creation. And so it's like, sometimes I can feel that the wisdom is just sitting outside of me,
Yeah.
but something deeper has landed in around the concept of the womb, because over the last few days I've really been feeling that sense of the macro and the micro, that we are embodiment of the macro of the cosmic womb in us, and that generative power that's there. And like you said, like really owning that, but really also like eliminating the fear of owning that, of owning that vastness of power, and really like
Mm.
mothers just being like, girl, get to the front of the queue.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you've got leadership work to do. It's like you need to start talking about all the things that you've gone through, experienced, like being this resounding siren call that activates other women and brings together the women that have been scattered to the wind and have also gone through these deep initiatory processes, because it's time to start forming, you know, the grid, the new
Yeah.
mother matrix. It's time for us to land it, to land the ship, you know,
Right.
and be this cohesive like network. And that's how it feels now, that this is the siren call, you know, bringing us the voices together
Mm.
that have really helped and assist me to get into my body and being. And just through talking about your own experience, you know, as you said, it can be complicated or it cannot be complicated. Do you know, we
Yeah.
can make it as complicated as we want, but there is something about the voice being a full transmission and activation now, and really seeding this wisdom here.
Yeah. Yeah. And women coming together.
Yeah.
And, a couple of months ago, like, so yet we've all suffered, right? Like we've all experienced these hits to the feminine. So if
Mhm.
you're carrying this medicine, if you're here for the resurgence of the feminine on earth at this period of time, um, there is going to be gritty parts for sure. Because it's not just, I think in the beginning, maybe I was naive. Like, I just have to remember my truth and stand in it and tell the truth. And then there you go. And it was not that at all. Like, I had to remember my soul code. I had to be brave enough to stand in it. I'm still going through that. I had to heal, really like atrocities in my family line, and SRA, like satanic ritual abuse,
Yeah.
influence, and just like really hard shit.
Mhm.
Right? And by the time you like go through that, you're tired, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Extremely. Bone
you're
tired.
tired. And like, I'm going to be 44 this year. I have a teenager. I'm in perimenopause. I'm like, I'm extra tired. And you all want me to like come forward now with my best work. Like, this feels very unfair sometimes,
Mhm.
like, woe is me. Right. And what happened a few months ago was like, I'm not suffering anymore. Like, I'm made my way through those really hard things. And there's an invitation to stand back up, do the work, restart the podcast, start the mission, with all that we've learned. And it was really simple, this motivation. It was really simple. That was like, they don't get to win again.
Mm. Mhm.
Like, those things that took the feminine power for thousands of years now, oh hell no. Like, and that got me back up.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, this is not the time that I lay down and
Mhm.
stop.
I'm really feeling you on that, because like you, I was like, wait a minute. I did all that. I thought I was gonna have a rest, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
no, go. And it's
Yeah.
like, pushing myself through this thing to like, no, this is it. I have to
Yeah.
keep the momentum going. I have to start the thing and learn as I go. And like you, there's been times when it's like I've almost wanted to collapse back and go, oh my God, I'm so tired. I need a rest. But that call of, can you see what's happening right now?
Mhm.
They are not going to win. Again, it's like now is the time. It's like there
Mhm.
is no like in a minute, tomorrow, next day, next month. It's like, no, this is
Yes.
spiritual warfare. You have come to be on the front line, and you have come to use your vessel as a being, as a being, to bring in this new technology of the feminine body. And as our bodies begin to crystalline, it is hard. What? Oh my God, the things that are going on in my body now. I thought things were going on before, but oh my God,
Here we go. We got
it's
we
like,
got more
oh,
in us, Coco. We got more in us. Yeah.
it's just, yeah, rewriting the everything, you know.
And I do. And I love this conversation at this time, right? Because we could be like, well, we're just, two women here having a conversation. And I've said a lot of those kinds of things. Like, well, it's just my podcast. Like,
Mm.
who's even listening? That kind of, okay, so I'm done with that kind of thought, right? Because now I know, I've always said this, but it's like it's activating so big right now in this moment. I can feel it also. The power of each and every woman
Mm.
doing this, like that is the call. That is the siren call right now, like doing
Yeah.
it and doing it together and coming together. So you're sovereign, I'm sovereign. We're in these sovereign soul paths that we're walking, right? You don't have to save me, I don't have to save you. Nobody has to save us, but we're doing the damn thing. That we're doing the sacred thing. And we're doing it side by side by side by
Yeah.
side. And there's so many like little sayings like we're the ones we've been waiting for. No, really, like
Yeah.
this time and the evolution of the planet and what I see going on with the planetary grids and the remembrance of the feminine through us, it like is what activates the evolution of the consciousness on the planet. It
Mhm.
is what takes the planet and bumps it into the next
Mhm.
expression of evolutionary potential. Like
Yeah.
it really is that. Like that
Mhm.
is why we are doing what we are doing, because even though it feels like, what, little me? Like, what contribution can I make? It really is that important
It
that we
really
do
is.
it.
It really is. And this was like the message. It's like, it doesn't matter. I didn't have anything together. It was just like, record the calls, woman. You will figure out how to advertise it. Because it's like, I have that, well, it's just me. And it's like, no, because each sound is coming together to create this harmonic, like symphony. And we're all needed. We've got to stop thinking, oh, it's somebody else, or like what's going on outside in the world now is just insane to me. Like looking to a government to govern and tell us what to, it's like, no, we have to tell ourselves what to do. We have to be the ones that listen to our soul call now, our sovereign self. We have all got a signature and it is calling us forward so that we can all come together. And one of the beautiful things I'm doing with this podcast, like I said, is that I'm gathering the women that I came across on my path, but also women who think that they're not like significant or are just my friends. It's like, no, you've got something to say and I'm going to make you say it. Because
Yeah, right.
we've got a sound. You've got a sound that goes out into the fabric of the universe, and we've got to like think on that level that we're not playing on the physical 3D plane
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Our voices are a harmonic that go out and they filter into their stratosphere, into their cosmos, into their ethers. And the mother's intelligence is the one thing that weaves it all together. You don't need to know how to do it. You just need to do the
right,
thing that's pressing on you, you
right.
know?
Yeah,
And it's not always comfortable. I mean, for the last 2 nights, you've been prodding me in my back to write a post about the collective political thing and from a higher perspective. And I'm going, I don't do politics. And she's like, no, you need to put this out there. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh God, they're going to crucify me. But it's like, I am going to do it
yeah,
because it's what's been asked to like build the fabric of what we're bringing in, the full tapestry. And we're here to bring in these higher, I don't like the word high, but these like
it is.
elevated
Yeah,
perspectives,
yeah,
because we can't sit in the mire anymore. We just
right.
can't do it. We are actually lifting ourselves out of the mire, and it is us that are lifting ourselves out of the mire through the resonance of our being and our voice and our vessel, our bodies, our blood, our bone. That is all being
Yeah,
transformed now. It's like, this is it. There is no other it. We are the it.
we are the it. And so you just said, the higher, but I don't like the word higher. So I want to go there because,
Yeah, please.
you
I
know,
do use the word elevated, but yeah, go on.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right. But this is so relevant
Please,
because
yeah.
when we're talking about feminine remembrance and feminine resurrection and the mother coming through us, she is in us, she's coming
Yeah.
through us. We've been taught that like higher consciousness means higher spiritual, like out of body consciousness. And that if we're going to ascend through the dimensionality, that means like leaving the earth, leaving the body. And this is so much of the revolution, is that we are raising the consciousness in matter, we
Mhm.
are raising the frequency of matter. And with the resurrection of the earth grids and the mother frequencies and what I call the regenerative feminine, there are these frequencies that are coming through matter, that
Mhm.
are actually elevating matter,
Mhm.
right? So someone said to me the other day, like, wow, you have this grounded expansion that I've never seen you have. And I was like, it's because the Sophia is telling me to sit my ass down. You know, like, because it is like bringing these frequencies, the gold frequency, bringing these
Mhm,
crystalline waters of mother, like
mhm,
into the soma and into the like multidimensional aspects of what is going on. Like we see with our eyes this thing called the 3D, but there are these additional, dimensional realities that we can and will tap into. If you stay on this path, you will tap into it, right? Where it's like this the sacredness of matter
mhm.
is like it's there and it's being activated and it's being blessed. And uh yeah, the mother currencies are reconnecting in the planet itself. So a lot of my time in meditation with the feminine is spent in the earth,
Mhm.
in the soil, and in earth metaphor.
Because you talk a lot about the earth grids and the new planetary architecture, which I want to kind of touch on. But I just really want to go back to what you're saying around this sense of, I think I have a thing around higher consciousness when
Great.
people talk about, because it, again, like you said, it's out of light body, but also there's this thing of, I'm just tired of people, oh, so you think I'm better than you? Do you kind of, it's like,
Yeah.
when you say it's higher, it's not higher is in that sense, but it isn't elevated. And as you said, the more you rest back into that consciousness, the more expansion and depth that you have.
Yeah. And there is something to be said for frequency,
Yeah.
right? Like people could go look up, there's like a chart of, they've measured the like megahertz frequency of each of emotion, like primary emotions, right? So if I'm in suffering in this physical form that I'm currently in, and I'm walking around suffering, my frequency is actually pretty low, right?
Mhm.
And like what I'm creating might be kind of that frequency, and what I'm projecting into the world might be of that frequency. So if I you know, eh, do all kinds of practices like, emotional alchemy. I do Kundalini yoga a lot. Um, but especially at those points of suffering, there's generally like a stuck emotion in the soma or in the morphogenetic field that's like decreasing the frequency of,
Mhm.
what we are experiencing. So I guess I say that to say there is lower and higher frequencies, and it's not, if you're high vibe, great, but be high vibe in a body.
Yeah.
Like, don't leave your body to think that you don't need to like ascend out of the body to be high vibe.
In fact, there is nothing worse than being out of the body. I spent most of my life dissociated from the body.
Right.
Oh my God. And it's taken me years to get in the body, to embody myself, embody this medicine, embody, have the capacity to hold what the mother wants to bring through, basically. And I want to touch on that one of the points of how and why I've done that is because as we move through this and embody more and sense more, we become hypersensitive
Yes.
to everything. And I really want to make that highlighted because so many are feeling the sensitivity and thinking they want to shut down or come away or not lean into the sensitivity. But the sensitivity is the medicine that you need right now to understand how to navigate that and understand so that you can feel the more subtle like frequencies that are coming in now. It's not something to shy away from.
Right.
I mean, we've been told so much not to feel and to shut feelings down or numb ourselves. But I'm telling you, this journey is about embracing the fact that you are a sensitive being.
Yeah.
It really truly is. And that is the master key
Mhm.
to the whole of this. And like Sarah was saying, and stillness, being with the body, really just feeling that essence of your own energetic signature first and foremost, understanding what that is so that you can distinguish it from others and distinguish the like organic like frequencies that are coming through as opposed to the inorganic that have tried to hijack the shit out of you, basically, you know?
Yeah, we were just talking about this in the sacred remembering community. Like, there's going to be all kinds of information given from this
Mhm.
point forward,
Yeah,
and you need to discern what's true and what's not true. And
yeah,
how do you do that? You do that through honing your sensitivity and
yeah.
through honing like the sovereignty of your own energy.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to safety there before we move on, because I'm really feeling personally this call to safety. Last night I had a client session that was all about safety. So I think there's this theme of safety in the field, and so much of what keeps us up and out of our body is fear.
Mhm.
fear of, something that might happen, like a trauma response that reoccurs in our body that keeps us hypervigilant. So right now, like what I was told, like, get right with your relationship with the caffeine. I thought I was right with my relationship with caffeine, and the mother is like, no, like if you're jacking yourself up,
Mhm.
then like that's not even trustworthy. Like who you are right there in that moment is not even like, you know, can you trust yourself? Can you trust your intuition in that moment fully? Can you trust your next move?
Mm.
Right. So this like the deep care of the
Mm.
feminine and of the body and the sustainability of our resources that we really want to experience, it starts with us and when we choose sustainability in our energy for
Mhm.
ourselves.
Yeah. There was something that you said earlier, but I can't remember what it is. But what you've just said there about really tending to the body, you
Yeah.
know? My thing is like sugar. It's like, girl, you've got to sort this shit out
Right.
because it's
You
like
gotta
cocaine kind of thing, and you're not fully with it, you know? And it seems such
right.
a simple thing, but it's almost like the body is so key right now.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when people think about connecting to the feminine wisdom and, essence of who we are, it can feel ethereal, but trust me, the body is key. Like simple things of taking care and nourishing and loving your body. What you put into it when you sleep. Are you hydrated? All the simple basic. Are you exercising? Have you got strength in your body? Can you hold yourself erect? Can you stay focused when like things are going on around you? It's like the simple basic things initially. And back in the summer when my book's coming out, I'm relaunching my program called Flesh and Bones because it is the bones of the thing. It's like understand the flesh that you're living in first and foremost before you want to like be connecting to star beings and everything. If you can't be in your body, what is the point? Because you're
Right.
just going to be neurotic. I'm sorry.
Oh
All
no, I love the word neurotic. I love it. I love that
but
like we
it's
all
not,
need to
that's
own
the
that we're
only word
neurotic.
that comes because it's like you're
Yeah.
just all over the place, you're
Yeah.
not grounded in your essence and being. And it's
Right.
like Sarah said, the highway of information that's going to be hitting us soon because everyone's on this AI like thing, and it's taking over. And if you cannot distinguish what's real, what's not real, what is truth, what is your truth, what is your sovereign like signature, you are going to be buffeted around. If you think you're being buffeted around
Yeah.
right now with the things that this is nothing
Right.
compared to what's coming and what we have to prepare for in order for this new reality to come through. Because I often just think when so many in the spiritual community, we've said we want this new thing, but it's like, how did we expect it to happen? There has to
Yeah.
be sort of like things breaking away before the new can come in, and we're not too attached to the old. As frightening as it may seem that the support systems that we've like been coerced into having as reality are being like jiggled about and taken right now, that is not the core reality that is truth. And I have waited for this day for so long, as in for years and years. It was like, yeah, life is changing, and yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah.
new earth and all that jazz. And like, yeah, I'm a light worker and this, that, other. I don't use those labels anymore, but it was this thing of, I know I'm here to do something. I don't know what I'm here to do. Today's the day that I'm here to do the thing. And it's like, I still don't know what I'm here to do, but I'm just doing it because it's a step by step process. And we're not meant to fully know the full picture ahead. We can have a sense of it and we can feel it through our bodies. And that's a navigational tool. Does
Yeah.
this feel right? Does this not feel right? And it's like just keeping on. That's how I do it. I feel through my body. Does this feel,
Yeah.
no, 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 aligned this way?
Yeah.
And so I get shown a step and then I process it and then get shown another step. And this is about trusting the unknown. You will not know the full picture. None of us can know the full picture. One, because it would probably freak us out if we did. And two, each of us carries an element of the picture. So we
Yeah.
need to come together.
We do.
Yeah.
Part of my shadow in walking this walk for like the last 7-ish years, I guess, since I left my like more formal career, has been like looking for validation. And then
Hmm.
like just yesterday, I was being schooled about this, because it's like, um, to your point, our job is to be in our channel
Hmm.
and listen,
Hmm.
hear everything else that's not that, and do what we're told, right? By the clear energy, right? We got to clear all that other shit out first so that we're not like confused about what we're hearing. But also there's this shadow of looking for validation. And I just wrote about this week. I haven't published the blog yet, but it's like creation or reaction.
Mhm.
And the world is entraining us to be reactors. Like if you go on a social media, oh, I like Coco's post, so I'm going to like it. That's a reaction to what you posted. And then you can be like, oh, look, there's this, 50 validations of that I was liked, right? Okay, so that kind of stopped for me like months ago. I took a 6 month hiatus from my business or from my podcast and the business really. And then I started it back up in December. So the numbers are low, like the reactions are low. And it's like this cosmic joke.
Mhm.
It's like, you're not doing it for the reaction. You're not doing it for the validation. You're
Mhm.
doing it to be a creator. Like that's your job, Sarah. Like that's it. And more, it's like it narrows it down. Like just be in this channel. Just turn that other shit off. Like just don't worry about that other reaction. Don't worry about the positive reaction. Just trust
Mhm.
and create. That's the thing. Like don't just trust and suffer and like pray for the end of the suffering, but like trust and create.
Mhm.
That's what I got to do.
Yeah, it is really humbling because before I could get to even the place where she was like now, it was like every like time I tried to do something like this or recreate my business, it was like, no, get back. No, no. And then it was like for the last like 10 months, it was like, you are here to create a movement, not a following. It's not about you. Get out of the way. And
Right.
this is the thing of like, it's not about me. It's not about it's us as a collective. And it took me a while to really get that because, like you said, we've been programmed to like, but I want people to like my thing, but I want,
Yeah.
and it's like every now and again she throws in something where it's like, right, I'm going to get you to write something where people are not going to like you, just to keep you like
Mhm.
humble, but also to give a deeper message. But it's that it is humbling when I can feel those like really potent messages coming through that need to like crack through the field. It almost feels like when you see people hacking through a jungle and they've got a machete, it's like
Mm.
it feels like that. It's like, right, we're going to hack through a really stubborn belief here in the collective field and in yourself, and it's going to shape people, and they're not going to like it, and they're not going to like what you're saying. And it's like, oh my god, here we go. But I always have to remember, it's not about me. It's not coming from me, like you said. It's coming from a higher intel, and I trust that implicitly. That what I'm being asked to do, I will do it. I'm going to say wholeheartedly, half-heartedly sometimes, but I do
Reluctantly.
it. I do it. I do it
Yeah.
because I trust it. I trust it. And one of the major reasons why I trust it, and I don't ask everyone to follow that, I'll trust it. I trust it because I had a near-death experience that took me directly to her and showed me the vision of what's to come in glimpse. And it was like a flat, and like, this is
Mm.
why you have to come back. Kind of like, yes, you
Wow.
can go if you want, but you'll be coming back anyway, so you might as well get the job done. Um, we
I know.
had a,
I was like, I've already come these 44 years. Just keep me here and let me get it done.
oh my God, the story behind that near death is because
I can't wait.
I just couldn't get my head around what was going on. And I was so entrenched in my own like limited beliefs and stories that it was almost like directed by me that we need to switch you off because you're just not getting it. It's like I was so attached to my story of sorrow and pain
Yeah.
and wanting justification for the abuse that had happened to me and the death of my mother, um, that through domestic violence. And it was just like in my mind, it was like, how are they getting away with murder, literally? And I couldn't let it go. And so I had to go through this massive initiation to really understand the bigger picture of it's not about you, honey bun. This had to, this had to happen this way for this. Oh my God, sorry, I just got to shout this like a double rainbow. Let's just come outside.
Whoa.
God. Yes, mother, I know. What an initiation though, but I totally understood the dynamics of why it happened, you know, the lineage that I was breaking with all that happening, and just the understanding of how we're all connected together ancestrally, and the narrative of forgiveness, and just so many things through that, going through that portal, that I have such a strong conviction now. It's like nobody can tell me that I need to follow this, that, and the other. And I even had someone the other day go, "Well, you don't know it all," or and it's like, no, but I know the truth of what I know,
Mhm.
and so I follow that because it feels true. There's no dissonance in my body when I tune into that. My body feels calm. my body feels steady. It feels solid. I'm not questioning.
Yeah.
I feel held. I feel loved. And I know I'm held and loved when I tune into that energy of the mother, you know? And it
Mm.
makes me want to cry every time because it's just so pure. The love of her.
The
And
safety. The safety.
it saved it.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
only needed one single drop of that to come back and remember that. And that's the thing. It's like if we could all just remember that one drop of pure love from the mother, it's like that vibration that comes out of me when I tune fully into that is like all everything else pales into insignificance, right? Because it's like it's just nonsense that we've made up as unruly children.
Separation nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
we've made up, and like now we're unraveling this big massive ball of string that we've just created to create one cohesive sound, you know?
Thank you for sharing that part of your story. I heard you mention the ND in the first episode, so I'll
Yeah.
be listening to hear that story. But that's very powerful.
Yeah, I do want to. I feel ready to talk more about it now, but it did take a lot to integrate because honestly,
Oh,
as you can imagine, being taken back to the beginning of the cosmic world, it's like, hello, too much information kind of thing.
right.
It's taken me that long to like really like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it.
Well, I hear you. That perspective, that time for perspective, is like needed and and helpful. Um, and yeah, just such a powerful. You said lineage breaking, and I kind of referenced that before. And we're here for that, and then we're here to help create the cohesion
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Literally healing our DNA, literally
Mm,
healing, and yeah, and I feel the gold frequency so much as I begin to say
mm,
this. It's like, um, yeah, I don't even know what to say about it. It just came in really strong, but it's like the cohesion. I think maybe that's saying, that is the gold frequency.
mhm.
Um, that there's like one tone, there's one sound.
There is one tone, there is one sound, and do you know what? Uh, just hearing that brings calm into my body. And I think the first time I heard it was when you and um
And Mary,
Mary were
yeah.
talking about, there is one bell.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And I was
She's
like,
so clear. Mary
yeah,
is so clear. Mary
yeah,
Costello. She's
yeah,
such a clear channel, and
yeah.
I am so grateful for her. We love you, Mary. Shout
I
out to
love
Mary
her.
Costello.
There's a reason why. Yeah, her recording's dropping tomorrow, and
I
there's a
can't wait.
reason why I chose her for the first one because I
Mm,
want that to be the tone of the pocket that it's like no, there is one sound. But I really want to just like speak to that because a lot of people get confused by when they hear that. Like, how can there only be one sound when we've all
mm,
got will to say the thing?
mm.
And it's like it's not that kind of sound.
It's the tone of creation.
It's the tone of creation, the creation that we all came from. And so it's in our being, it's in our vessel, and we can attune to that and not the noise and all the beliefs and the stories and the whatever else is we got implanted in our lineages. As much as we want to hold on to them, like I did, it was like, oh my God, no, it's what made me. I'm not
Right.
letting go. It's like, it's not the truth of who I am or who I was or what I came to do. And like, I think there becomes a point when and I've seen it happen so many times where we loop and loop
Oh
and
yeah.
in these stories and we get into this thing that we're claiming the ancestral thing and we've got to do the and we're digging and we're claiming the ego and it's like there comes a point when you have to just stop that
Yeah.
and get on the other train.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I do.
as you're
Yeah.
building then the creation, that's the vibration that helps move all that out of the body. We don't need to physically dig that hard. Yes, there is some initial work to do to understand exactly what it is, but the fact that we attune and align with the sound of creation is the thing that vibrates the discord out of you. Yeah.
There's something I want to say. I'm a terrible quoter because I'm just
No,
feeling all the time. I'm like feeling and process. So, but you said something about Mary setting the tone, and I just want to say, Coco, like you actually set the tone. This is your podcast,
yeah,
and
I
I.
do set the tone. I know I set the tone. My tone is becoming very, very clear now. But
and
it's
it
like as a guest, yeah,
Yes,
it
yeah,
was like I wanted the two sounds to
yeah,
come together. Yeah.
very incredible first guest, and yeah, I feel this earth based mother in you, and you post about the mother and the matter all the time.
Mm,
I feel her. Like I
mhm.
feel the goddess incarnate in the soil of creation in you.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I feel that coming through what you're bringing through with this podcast.
Can I just say it's taken me a while to like wear that one.
Oh,
But you are
sure.
the third person to have said that in like 3 days, and I'm like, okay, I will like take that on. Because I think sometimes you can't hear your own tone.
It's true.
You know, you're
Yeah.
not quite well. I'll speak for myself. I can't hear my own tone sometimes, as in I think, yeah, like I was saying before, I've been dragged that much through a hedge that it's like I'm still orientating myself to what it is I'm doing. I'm just trusting that what comes out of me is truth, and that I am also in the process of solidifying the thing within
Yeah.
me. And so that I can, yeah, just put it out in a bigger way.
Right.
Because I've got to a certain frequency and like depth and width of holding, and it's like, this is the next stage of being like throwing, you know, when they say throwing your voice out,
Yeah.
but in a big way, and just seeing the vastness of what it holds, but realizing that it's the same resonance and tone of Earth
It
and
is.
of cosmos. And that comes actually through me. It's like, wow, okay. My little me is like, ooh, what are we doing? What
Right.
are we doing now?
Right. All we have to do is show up. Yeah. There's okay. So yes, to all of that, and you are bringing this earthly tone. And something that we touched on before we started recording that I want to come back to here is like loneliness. So you're saying like
Mm,
I don't always know how I'm coming across, or I don't always know. Like I was saying, like I don't always know who's listening to my podcast. So we've kind of built this arc in this conversation, and we've talked about like standing in your truth and standing in your source channel and just doing what you're called to do. And I also want to name that sometimes that can feel really, really lonely.
yeah.
Like when we don't have those reflections, or like when someone comes in and says, like last night this woman said, thank you so much for recording those sovereignty meditations, because after some domestic abuse it's what got me through. Like
Hmm.
that makes me want to cry right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I will make more meditations in that case. It's like, okay, like someone has benefited from this thing, and it's wonderful to hear that. Like
Hmm.
it's wonderful to it. And this is what I was talking about. Sometimes that gets mixed up with validation, right?
Hmm.
But it's also this gorgeousness to collaborate,
Hmm.
to uplift one another, to have other women like
Hmm.
reflect. The world is always providing us with mirrors, some
Yeah.
positive, some negative, and we like learn about ourselves. But
Hmm.
again, like getting to know Mary and just being her friend, like
Hmm.
talking with her on Telegram. She's in Ireland, I'm in the States, and like talking to her on Telegram throughout 2024, and then being able to collaborate with her, and then doing those podcast transmissions where we were laughing, like we genuinely enjoy one another. So I think women heard that and they're like, whoa, like this is not competition. This is not
Hmm.
hyper individualism. This is not those things. Like this is something different, and we just like had a grand time in doing that. And now we're both like, oh yeah, I got to get back into my channel more, right? And then like there's this like ebb and flow that happens. But anyway, I wanted to bring that topic in and like name that there's this. I think in being the siren and being first in the queue, as you said, like the edge walkers, the way showers. There's this trust, and I experience loneliness
Hmm.
with that.
Yeah.
To trust and to be the creator and the creator of what I'm here to create, and then um, yeah, like we need one another. We need to be alongside one another, like you're
Hmm.
saying with the intent of this podcast, to like
Yeah.
to gather. We need that more.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, really is, because I went through such a period of like Billy No Mates because and I'm wondering if it's part of the initiatory process, because there was a time when I had so many friends in my field, but then it was like I had to let them go. And then there was this massive period of when I didn't know what I was doing. And then there was like nobody. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, is this it? Is it
Oh my
just
God.
me?
Yeah, so hard. Yeah. Right.
Is it just me? And then it was like almost like building that muscle of, okay, then if nobody's listening and nobody, are you still going to do the thing? And it was like, yeah, I'm still going to do the thing. And the minute I said that is when the likes of you and Mary and everyone else that I'm like talking to on this, like they came into my field, and I was just like laughing my head off, like, oh my God, seriously. But
It
yeah,
showed
the
up.
loneliness
Yes.
is, and even when we do collaborate, there is still that thing of we're not doing it alone, but there is this sense of we have to stay tuned into our channel. It's not about following each other. It's about, like you said, side by side, a collaboration of energies together. It's like, yeah,
It's a very powerful front. I
yeah,
was like seeing all the women walking forward just there, like, whoa, that is so powerful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And not to be in competition and to remember too, like we are all human. And so therefore we are imperfect. And
Hmm.
like there are women just even recently, the same thing that you're just saying happened where it's like we're walking side by side, but then there's like a glitch, or like a remembrance, or like, oh, that's not quite resonant with me. Oh man, I was hoping that that collaboration was going to be better than it is able to be right now. Oh, that's a reminder back to my channel, right? Because no one
Yeah.
else has my channel.
Hmm.
Like that's my responsibility.
Yeah, no one else has your channel, and the co-collaboration thing is really interesting because, like you said, there's been a few. I was going to call them false starts, and but I'm not going to call them that because I think they've been reminders of, like you've said, no, that's not your channel.
Right. Right.
Get back in your lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing her thing. I'm doing
Yeah,
my
we're all doing
thing.
our thing, but we
Right.
can come together, and it's not like before where it was either, like you said, competition or codependency, or like, because you're doing that, I have to do that. Da, 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 da.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
no, we're each doing our thing, and we weave in, weave out,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
and we each get, you said this before too. By the way, I wasn't talking about Mary passively when I just said that at all. That wasn't about Mary, it was someone locally. But then we come together with the pieces of the puzzle,
yeah,
right? Because like the earth is actually changing.
hmm,
The energies are actually changing. Like there's always present moment updates, right? And that's what makes being a channel a channel. That's what makes it cool. Is like, oh, I'm getting this grid update. Oh, I'm getting this. And that's how Mary Costello and I came together, was that this like new pillar of mother was forming, and I had the earthly part and she had the Andromeda part.
hmm,
And so like all year, I think we were co-channeling and sharing the parts and the
hmm,
pieces. And
yeah,
yeah, it's really beautiful when we can
yeah,
recognize that that's what we're doing.
hmm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there's nothing more to say apart from, yeah, because it does make me feel all gooey inside that that's exactly it. That
Yeah.
we each are bringing together, pieces of the puzzle, and when we speak it, it elevates and activates the other, and we see the bigger picture, and that's how the bigger pictures form. That's how the networks form. That's how the grid is formed, and we're all doing it together. And yeah, it just spark something in me because my core contribution is to elevate, liberate, and celebrate the sacred in life. And don't know why that wants to make me cry, but it's again just that sense of it's the truth of who I am. That's what I'm here to do,
Right.
and I embrace that wholeheartedly as the mission that I've been given, and to really understand what that means to see life as sacred meant that I had to see life as an atrocity and embrace, come in the middle, and like you said, just hold both spectrums without judgment, without anything. Um, yeah, just
Mm.
a neutral understanding that it's part of the crazy puzzle that we've created, and we're reshaking up the jigsaw and creating another jigsaw puzzle of one that we want, one that we really want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point, I've been having these intuitions lately because I'm not having fun on these mainstream social media platforms. Like I love the people that I connect with, but I don't love like the platforms themselves. And there's just this intuition that's like steady on, and the new solutions, like it's going to work itself out. Like
Mhm.
or the support systems, the supportive energetics are going to work it out. So I say that to say, like, as we are standing in our truth, and part of what I do is like help women from that point of like maybe they want to leave that traditional professional career and step
Mhm.
into their truth and like start a soul business and those kinds of things. And like there have been certain templates that have been available that we've tried to fit into. I don't know how much you've done this, but I've done this. It's like, oh, well, I got to grow the social media. I've got to have this kind of uh,
Mhm.
like structure, right? And all of the structures are changing. Like I went through this, the feminine is changing the structures. Like all the structures are changing. The like the flow is changing within the structures. So it's really going to be us in our remembrance and in our own integration that's actually also bringing through the new how.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're intuiting, like different possibilities and potentials for this podcast and sacred remembering. Like I've been, building. It's not a huge community, but it's got some nice new earth structure to it. Like no
Mm-hmm.
one's the guru. We're all, helping one another stand in the sovereign truth of who we are, and there's not competition like that. And so, yeah, just these new structures that allow these creations,
Mm-hmm.
to come forward and to be uplifted and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I just say that to encourage. Like I'm in that remembrance. I'm in that like just be you right now, build the work, and the way that this emanates and regenerates will be shown.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to like muscle it. We don't have to like
Yeah.
fit into the old structures and like make it happen.
Mm.
That's exhausting.
Yeah. 100%. It
Yeah.
is about leaning back and allowing the new to carry us forward. We don't have to strive and stress and struggle as we have done in the past at all.
Which is a trust walk. I'm
Yeah.
on it. I'm on that trust walk myself for
On it.
sure.
I'm grateful for the allies that,
Yeah.
I'm finding along the way,
Yeah.
including yourself. So I kind of want to wrap up now and just let people know where they can find you, Sarah. And yeah, I sign up to Sarah's email. She does one every Sunday. And they're full of juicy information. And you've got your podcast and your community, if you just want to say a bit of that. And you've also got something coming up around the Sophianic codes as well, which I think is really, really important, if you want to speak to that.
Thank you. Yeah, so everything can be found at sarahpoet.com. I'm sort of like, I don't want to have to go everywhere on the internet. So that is my local spot. So SARAHPOET. And yeah, everything can be found there. The podcast episodes going back 5 years, the link to the community, if that feels resonant to you. And the call of Sophia, it feels simple, but one of the days recently I was, in that feminine space of like, or that woman space of like, should I do one more thing? Or should I, and she was like, take a salt bath and light some candles. And don't even listen to anything. Like, don't try to cram in one more thing. Just be, right? And then she was like, I'm in the bath, I'm in the salt bath. And she's like, I'm calling. I'm calling. And like, y'all can't hear me because you're so damn busy and you're worried about politics. Like, you're freaking yourself out and you're reposting on Instagram and you're thinking that that's advocacy and you're thinking that's going to change the world. And it's like, I'm calling, So that is where that came from. So it was just a 4-week activation. And I lead these meditations that I call regenerative feminine meditations, where I share the activation, share the frequency of the Sophianic frequency that's coming through. So there are many of these Sophianic frequencies, many that I've touched, many that I probably haven't touched yet. We make contact with the earth. We go to the soil. I think you came to one of the regenerative feminine events that I had. So the Call of Sophia is really a very simple 4-week Sophianic transmission that is, that is, this like simple, like keep it simple, keep it like easy accessible, safe, right? That it's that vibe. That's how that feels to me. And then I work one-on-one with folks too if they want to go deeper.
Amazing. And I've
Thank
got links for your website, your little hub, that I will send people to. But
you
yeah,
so much.
yeah, I feel complete.
Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for doing this podcast. It's such medicine, and I know that when you are ready to talk about the NDE and what the Great Mother told you, it's just, I mean, that is so powerful. So I'm on the edge of my seat, all in good time, waiting for that. And yeah, but such powerful medicine to like bring that straight back for us. So thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on Sirens of the Mother, podcast where we wax lyrical about all things mother. from the divine to the downright dirty.